Greetings, hello from Petaluma, California. Well, of course, California. I'm Brian Rademacher, and I am the AmaWaterways sales guy for Northern California. And with me today from Dimensions in Travel is Jill Romano. And so, Jill, would you like to say hello?
I would. Thank you so much, Brian.
You bet.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome on behalf of Dimensions in Travel and AmaWaterways. We're delighted to have you join us. We're doing our tips for first-time river cruisers today, and we have a wonderful partner lined up, AmaWaterways. This is one in a series of events that we're offering about exciting destinations and fun ways to travel. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Jill Romano. I'm one of the owners of Dimensions in Travel, along with my dear friend and business partner, Diana St. James. And I just wanted to cover a couple of housekeeping items for you all. As you heard at the beginning, everyone's in a listen-only mode. So microphones are off, so there's no background noise. You'll have plenty of opportunity to ask questions. There is a question button at the bottom of your screen, or if you want to wait until a little bit towards the end of the presentation, you can type in questions at any time you would like. We're so glad that you're here with us today. I don't know if many of you know, Dimensions in Travel has been in business for 42 years. The time has flown. We realize how much everyone is missing travel and how much we're all looking forward to our next trip. So our special guest today joining us is Brian Rademacher, and we are delighted to have him here. He knows this product and the destinations inside and out, so we couldn't be more pleased to have him here. And you'll find as you listen along today how perfect a vacation this is, whether you're going with your girlfriends, your family, multi-generational, or you just want to jet off on your own. It's a great opportunity to travel. So Brian, I'd like to turn it over to you, and thank you.
Thank you, Jill. And I really appreciate that kind introduction. How nice. And wow, 42 years. That's amazing. Fantastic. Congratulations. That really is remarkable. That's staying power for sure. And I think I've worked with you all 20 plus of those years. I can tell you, because I've been doing this a while. So really enjoy Jill and Diana and everybody at Dimensions. So you've come to the right place for sure to book your any travel for that matter, and certainly AmaWaterways. So without further ado, and thank you very much for joining us once again today. I very much appreciate your taking time out. And another little housekeeping item that I'll mention is that this webinar right now is being recorded as well. So I'm going to provide that recording to Jill and Diana, and they'll be able to send that out to you to look at again if you're so inclined, or maybe share with friends, or the possibility too of the folks that registered today that were for whatever reason unable to make it. So it's good to be able to have that as well. So let's dive in. We see a beautiful picture there of Jill and Diana, very, very lovely. And that's me when I can't remember actually the last time I wore a suit, as a matter of fact, but that suit hanging in the closet, and I'm looking forward to the day where I can break that suit out again and get back out on the road. And by the way, I should tell you that 97% of our bookings come through the traditional travel agency channel. And we're kind of an anomaly in that regard, in the sense that that's a very high percentage. And so we don't really do much advertising. So we really count on Jill and Diana and the folks at Travel or Dimensions in Travel to present our product to you, because frankly, you might not have heard of us before. And so the partnership is real in that regard, and we're very grateful for that. So again, a sincere thank you to you all. So real quickly, just wanted to mention that this is the first in a series of 3 webinars. So we have another one coming up November 12th at 4 o'clock. And if you want, you can do a screen print of this. And of course, you'll get an invite as well. I'm going to do a little deeper dive into the main rivers that everyone sort of gravitates to on their first time river cruise typically, which of course are the Danube and the Rhine. And that certainly makes sense. And also sort of talking about transitioning from ocean cruises to river cruises, because my background, quite frankly, is I was with Princess Cruises for 15 years. And before that, I was at Crystal Cruises for 8 years. So I gravitated and moved from the ocean sector, if you will, to the river side of things. And I'll talk a little bit about that and how similar are in some ways and how different they are in other ways. And then a really kind of fun thing that'll happen in early December as we start to get into the holiday season, the Christmas season, at December 2nd at 3 o'clock. One of our co-founders and owners, an executive vice president, Christine Karst, she is going to present on the fairy tale Christmas markets on the Danube on that particular day at 3 o'clock. And she does a wonderful presentation. She is actually in Dresden, Germany right now visiting her parents. So we got to hear today an interesting story of her Lufthansa flight to Munich and then flying on down to Dresden and how well it went and everything. But anyway, she does a beautiful presentation on the Christmas markets because she absolutely loves the Christmas markets. So she's our special guest presenter on December 2nd at 3 p.m. So those are the two upcoming webinars I wanted to make mention of. We always like to show this particular image in the sense that, number one, it's very evocative. And the axiom there is absolutely true, in that oceans take you to countries, rivers take you through them, right? And so these, the Rhine, the Danube, other rivers, they served really as the roads of old as far as commerce and how commerce was established between towns and villages and cities. And nowadays, they still serve that way. There's still commercial traffic on the rivers, but you're now also finding a lot of very wonderful river cruise ships, including ours. And so this happens to be taken in the fall. As you can see, the beautiful fall colors there on the Rhine River. And so that is absolutely the case with river cruising, that we transition and take you through the countries. Now, I happened to find this quote the other day. It's in small print there. You see Michael Palin. And if you're old enough, you remember him from his time with Monty Python, right? The Monty Python comedians and comedy troupe. And he's actually an inveterate traveler as well. And he says, once the travel bug bites, there is no known antidote. And I know that I shall be happily infected until the end of my life. And I love this quote because I think we all have that bug, right? We all love this beautiful world in which we live. And lately we've been having to do more sort of armchair travel or virtual travel, as it were, at least in our case, because we're suspended and we're not able to cruise at this point in time. But I'm going to tell you an interesting story about that here momentarily. But I just love that quote because the juxtaposition of a bug, an antidote, and some of the words we're hearing these days, but in this case, it's in a positive vein that we all have that wonderful travel bug. I have a little video I'm going to show you that's a little introduction here to AmaWaterways, so bear with me as I do that. Hold on, show screen, and I'm going to play it right now. Okay. All right, little vignette there. And these are our owners. You see Rudy Schreiner here, Christine Karst, the one I mentioned, who is in Dresden right now. Rudy is from Vienna, Austria, so both European. And then Gary Murphy has Irish roots, actually. And so we are family owned and have been since 2002, so for 18 years. And Rudy, I can tell you, is the acknowledged godfather of North American river cruising. We'll get into that here momentarily, but these people are passionate, they're prudent, just the most down-to-earth people you'll ever meet, and I'm so happy to work for them, and they run a really wonderful company. And all we do is river cruising. We're, again, not disparate in all the various kinds of travel that we could get into. We're strictly a river cruise line. And Rudy, as I mentioned, as far as the godfather of river cruising, there's an organization called CLIA, which is Cruise Lines International Association, and they recognized him as such. Why is that? Well, because when the Rhine, Main, Danube Canal opened up in 1992, and you'll hear more about that in the next webinar that I do, when that opened up, it allowed you to get on a ship in Amsterdam, and you could go 2,200 miles all the way to the Black Sea. Rudy thought, you know what, this is a great opportunity to start promoting river cruising to North Americans. So he was actually the person that started Uniworld River Cruising, which is a company still around. You know, you're never supposed to mention your competitors, but the fact is he also was the first president of Viking, right? He got Viking going. The owner of Viking called him and said, I want you to help me start my river cruise line. He also helped start another one called Avalon, but the thing that was in common with those three, he didn't own those three, and he decided he'd like to own his own river cruise line, and that is us. And as I say, we started back in 2002. So this is our world, primarily in Europe, as you can see. So we say 14 rivers and waterways, 23 countries, and 33 different itineraries. But we're also in Egypt, we're on the Mekong, so the Nile, the Mekong, and we're also on a river here in Southern Africa between Namibia and Botswana called the Chobe. So these are more exotic, and these are our traditional, certainly, destinations here. And so that's where we go. And then we're gonna not spend as much time on this because I'm gonna save this more for our next presentation in terms of transitioning from ocean to river. So I won't spend a lot of time here, but I'll give you just a sneak preview in terms of some of these bullet points about the intimate vessels, no inside staterooms. You can kind of peruse that for yourself. I kind of meant to hide that one to show that next time, but there are certainly similarities if you've been on an ocean cruise, for sure. The main thing being water, of course, and then there are other things that are completely different, right? And so river cruising pre-COVID was one of the hottest sectors in travel. And quite frankly, post-COVID, we think it's going to be the same. We really think that's going to be the case for a number of different reasons. And some of them are here. But again, I'll spend a little more time on this particular image when I do my next webinar coming up next month. But there are definite similarities, and then there are definitive differences, right? So right now, there are 58 river ships operating in Europe, 58 river ships that are cruising in Europe. There's one that's North American based, and that is us. The Ama Christina, which is named after Christine Karst, one of our co-founders and owners, is sailing on the Rhine right now, and she has been since July 5th. So she's been cruising August, September, October, 3.5 months on the Rhine. You might say, well, how is that possible? It's because a German tour operator chartered the ship. And she's doing cruises round trip out of Cologne, Germany on the Rhine, northbound and then southbound. And so we are operating under all the various health and safety protocols that are in place for the European river cruise ships that are operating. And of course, we being the only North American brand that's operating, and we're cruising with Germans and Swiss, Austrians, some Belgians, some Dutch folks as well. And this is pictured on one of the first cruises that we operated. But the good thing is this, and that is that we are in the game. We're not on the sidelines. We're actually in the game. In other words, we're not having to hear, again, anecdotally, or get reports from other companies as to how it's working, what is happening, what is it really like on the ground, or in this case, on the water. Well, the fact is we are doing it, and that experience is golden for us in terms of how it's going to help us going forward. Now, how many of these things will be in place as we come to next year or the year after, because our books are open for 2022 as well? We'll have to see. Everything, as we all know, is very fluid these days. Now, speaking of that, that's why this particular program is important. Insurance is incredibly important, and I know Dimensions in Travel did a webinar where they covered insurance with Allianz, actually, which is a fantastic company. What I want to point out here is we have our own insurance program, which is fine, but this is something additional. It's called Travel Waiver Plus, and what it does it gives you a further peace of mind such that you can cancel for any reason whatsoever up to 24 hours prior to the start of your AmaWaterways trip. You can purchase this up to 48 hours prior, all right? It's just further protection, and what it does is it takes the amount of penalties you would have incurred for canceling for any reason, and it gives it back to you in the form of a future cruise credit valid for 2 years, right? So the folks at Dimensions can tell you more about this program. You do not, as it says here, does not have to be purchased with our own cruise protection plan. So that's also a good news story. I just want you to be aware of it as something that's out there. Now, if you have more of an interest in finding out what all are we doing as we're cruising right now on the Ama Christina in Europe with all these various things that we are doing, including this clean air. We've always had these independent air coils within the cabins in public areas. Now we talk about it, of course, but this is something we've always done. And you can go to amawaterways.com/travel-updates, and you can see more of this cashed out in writing if you want to learn more about what it is that we are doing as we cruise right now and what we'll have in store for the future. Now, let's get into the heart of the matter here. I wanted to address those things first because, quite frankly, a lot of people have those things on their minds immediately. And now we can talk about what we say here is the value of a river cruise. Now, I'm not going to read the slide to you. I don't want to read the bullet points to you. I'm not of a mind to do that. But certainly all of these are why we say pre-COVID river cruising was so hot, incredibly hot, growing and growing, and why we feel, again, post-COVID, or in that world when we're traveling and booking travel to go again, why we will still be just as popular. Certainly the intimacy and the smaller ships play a factor as well. No crowds or long lines, that also plays into it. You're always right in the center of town. The no seasickness factor as well. So all of this is, and very much immersive and inclusive, right? So river cruising immerses you in the local culture, and then you are inclusivity-wise, everything is included, or nearly everything is included, so it's a tremendous value proposition, right? So why us? Then why specifically us? We're happy that we have the Berlitz rating in terms of the highest rated ships in Europe. We're very proud of that. Berlitz being known along with Frommers and Foders, certainly in terms of their review of travel. So we're, again, very proud of that. We've talked about the family owned and operating operations that we have, our innovative fleet. Nobody is more innovative, frankly, than Rudy Schreiner, by the fact that, again, he's been acknowledged at that as holding that title. The cuisine is off the hook. The crew is the same. The other nice thing, the shore excursions are included in small groups. We've already talked about the hygiene and cleanliness. We've always practiced that. Now we talk about it more in the current environment. Here's the other cool thing. Every one of our ships are paid for in cash before they're even built. So all of our ships have zero debt. That is a really good position to be in the current environment, to not owe creditors any money at all. So financial stability is definitely there, and we're very proud of that as well. We have these beautiful signature twin balcony staterooms, which I'll show you pictures of, the wonderful chef's table and alternative dining opportunity. We have wellness hosts on board that are there strictly for your wellness, wonderful entertainment. We have Wi-Fi, our own app, the My Ama Cruise app, and then we received recently the Green Award for Sustainable Travel. This is a very prestigious award, even though the moniker, the title is pretty generic, Green Award. It's not that fancy a name. But to get the Green Award from an organization in Europe is, again, very, very prestigious. So prestigious that the country of the Netherlands recently announced that the best parking places for river cruise ships in the Netherlands, so places like Rotterdam and Amsterdam and other places, are going to go to the ships that have this Green Award. The other nice thing is Disney. Now, what you say, Disney? Well, Disney has ocean-going ships. What don't they have? They don't have river cruise ships, but they know they need to have it in their portfolio. So for their company, Adventures by Disney, what did they do? Well, about 4 years ago, they mystery shopped every North American cruise brand. They're pretty persnickety who they hook their wagon to. And they came knocking on our door and said, we want you. So what do? They charter with us 30 different cruises a year. on the Danube, the Rhine, the Rhone, and the Seine. And then those are Adventure by Disney cruises that they operate. They bring their Disney folks on board. There's no Mickey or Minnie. They don't do that. But I like this as a third-party endorsement. That's pretty impressive that they chose us. Here is our young, modern, and innovative fleet. Young in the sense that if you look here from, say, 2014 and 15 all the way into next year, the median age of one of our ships is about 2.5, 3 years old, meaning half the ships are younger, half the ships are older. So it's a young fleet, modern and innovative. And by the way, I mentioned earlier, there are 3 new ships coming in 2021. And as I said earlier, they're all paid for. These are all paid for. So we're very pleased about that. No new ships this year, which I guess is fortuitous. And then we had 3 new ships last year, right? So just to show you that. So the new ships coming next year are the AmaLucia and the AmaSiena. They're sister ships that'll operate on the Rhine and the Moselle, which is a river you may not have heard of, but is actually the most beautiful river, according to all the experts in Europe, is the Moselle. And then we have a new ship coming on the Nile River called the Amadahlia. She is only going to carry 68 guests, 34 staterooms. She begins cruising in September of 2021, and the books are open for her all the way through December of 2022. As a matter of fact, the books are open for all of our ships through December of 2022. And indeed, the rivers do continue to flow. As I said earlier, there are 58 ships operating. They're British and they're Portuguese, French, Swiss, German. And again, we're the only North American brand that's operating. Now, you might wonder, where does that word ama comes from? What does that mean? Ama comes from the Latin word amare, amare meaning to love. So what we like to say is we love what we do. We love our guests. We love our crew. We just love everything that we do and provide. So ama does mean love, no question about it. And you will have that sense of the true familial feel when you come on our ships, such that that's how people come back to us again and again and again. It all starts from the heart. So we like to look at these river ships. And by the way, when you look at river ships, whether you look at them online or in a brochure, you might say, gosh, they all aesthetically, they all look the same. Why is that? And maybe you don't ask that question, but I'm going to tell you why that is. And that is because we all have to fit through the same locks, because there are many locks on the rivers in Europe. So the widest you can be is about 36 feet, and the longest you can be is 443 feet, which is actually due to the bends in the river. The width is tied to the lock, the length is tied to bends in the river. So we like to think of these as sort of luxury yachts, if you will, to maximize your comfort and your enjoyment for sure. And so the cruise manager who's with you on board, they are with you every step of the way. Now, what does that mean? Of course, they're with you on the ship, but guess what? We offer a wonderful array of both pre and post-cruise land programs before your cruise and after your cruise. So the cruise manager who's with you on the ship will start with you at the pre-cruise property and will be with you at the post-cruise property land program. So they are with you every step of the way. And what happens is they become kind of like at the hotel, your own private concierge, because they're there just for our AmaWaterways guests. And we use 4- and 5-star properties at our hotels that we go to. The other interesting thing that I found out back in January when we had our global summit over in Budapest is that the number of applicants to be a cruise manager at AmaWaterways versus the actual number of people that we hire, and it's a very arduous position to get. I think it's easier to get into Stanford than to become a cruise manager with us, because it is a coveted position and hard to get. The crew, as it says here, are extraordinary. You don't have enough superlative adjectives to describe how wonderful the crew is. You know, the hardware is one thing, right? And you have to have hopefully beautiful ships. But what brings a ship alive, what brings that hardware and that sense of warmth to you is the software, the people on board. And they do simply a magnificent job. And they have also, I don't want to say the word bought in, because it's not buying in, because it's actually true. This whole concept of we're one big family, right? One big family. And so that is how they treat you. These are those twin balcony staterooms that Rudy came up with because North Americans traditionally like balconies, particularly if they've had one on an ocean cruise. They'd like to have the same on a river cruise. And because we have so many of them, that's the traditional accommodation on our ships, people are also more inclined to want the ability to have the fresh air, opening the sliding glass door. So we say twin balcony because you have a traditional balcony to the left with a couple of tables and a chair, or a couple of, I should take that back, a couple of chairs and a table. That would not be right to have 2 tables and 1 chair. So I digress. And then over here, you have a French balcony, which just has sliding glass doors and then a railing here. But you have both, right? And these are our most popular accommodations. They book the earliest. And again, they're very much more in vogue as people like the concept and idea of having fresh air. And then we also have connecting accommodations with a door in between the cabins, the staterooms. And then we also have triple and quad, meaning accommodate 3 or accommodate 4 staterooms. And quite frankly, we do appeal to multi-generational families. So particularly in the summer and other times of year, maybe at Christmas markets times, we get multi-generational families. So the grandparents, the kids, and the grandkids, so they love the accommodations that are connecting or with triples and quads, et cetera. And so you should be aware that we have that available too. This is sort of the living room of the ship. You get the sense of the contemporary feel of this particular venue, the Panoramic Lounge, and it's the bar as well here. And this is a place that you will gather frequently. The cruise manager gives his or her talk here. We do buffet. Well, I say buffet. Buffets, I'm going to tell you shortly, are going away. But we do the bar here. There's a cocktail hour as well. This is just an area that you will gravitate to and find yourselves in quite a bit. But I wanted to show the picture here just to give you a sense and a feel for the aesthetics of the ships that we have. Speaking of drinks, this is how it works. We do have a welcome cocktail party. There's always bottled water, and now it's in the cartons. Because of that green award, we don't have plastic bottles anymore. We went away from that. And then at lunch and at dinner, we have wine that changes every night, beer, and then soft drink during meal hours. We also have mimosas in the morning at breakfast. And then every evening, there is a cocktail hour 1 hour before dinner is how that works. And then I have another video I'm going to show you here, and this one is more about our dining. So bear with me as I get that going. All right. So I will tell you that the dining is incredible. Now, I can't say that I'm a gourmand by any means, but I can tell you that this organization, Chaîne de Retousseur, which started back in 1248 and then was reconstituted back in 1950 by a group of chefs, one very famous chef named Paul Bocuse from Lyon, a 3-star Michelin chef. Well, in order to be members of Chaîne de Retousseur, you have to be invited. We were the first river cruise line to be invited to be members of Chaîne de Retousseur, which in French means goose cookers. That's what they did back in the 12th century. And the requirements are that you have the absolute ultimate in dining as it relates to the food quality, the wine, and the service as well, right? Now you see the picture here, it looks like a buffet. Well, I'm telling you now, one of the, I'll say, casualties of COVID is that at least with AmaWaterways, and at least with us on our river ships, the buffets ultimately are going to be going away. So everything is going to be served a la carte from a menu and not via a buffet. So this picture, a little misleading. We're going to have very upscale cooking stations where you can come up and order something to be prepared a la minute right there in front of you. But again, buffet going away. Breakfasts, very lavish, as well as lunch, the multi-course dinners. This is cool here. We say we have freezers on board our ships just for ice cream, and that is absolutely the case. Everything else is fresh and locally sourced, and that you will taste the difference. Plus, we bake all of our own breads and pastries and dessert, all baked on board every night, and it is absolutely amazing. That's my weakness, is the gluten aspect. I'm an extra gluten guy, and I love the breads that we prepare. There's afternoon tapas that we do. And again, part of this whole situation with the virus is we've expanded our room service menu. So going forward, there's opportunities and more opportunities to dine in your cabin, and of course, in nice weather, to dine out on the balcony. We mentioned
Brian, we
yes.
Can't see your screen at the moment.
I'm so sorry. There we go.
There we go. Perfect.
Sorry about that. Thank you for interrupting. I just got my driver's license and showing videos, so I apologize for that. So I was talking about these various aspects of dining, which you were hearing me talk about. You see the picture here of the buffet. I mentioned, as I said earlier, that's going to go away. No more buffets as we go forward, for obvious reasons. If you have any special dietary needs, and there's lots of them out there these days, just let your folks advisors know at Dimensions, and they let us know, and we'll take good care of you on board. We always have health conscious choices as well, maybe not tied to a special diet, but you want to be picking the healthiest things on the menu. Will help you there. And then there are always available choices. So if you just got to have a cheeseburger or a margarita pizza or that kind of thing, we do that as well. But the dining, as I say, is superb. And to me, the key thing here is fresh and locally sourced. That we're able to do because if you think about it, our ships average around 150 guests. That's it, about 75 cabins. And so it's like a small restaurant, essentially. So you're able to do that as far as providing the goods, if you will, or the fresh food and et cetera. You're able to do that more easy on a river ship. And this is speaking to this whole idea of expanding the room service opportunities. So here, this couple, and this is on one of the German charter departures on the Rhine, where they're enjoying their meal out on their balcony. And so that is also something that will continue to be in the forefront as we go forward. We also have around 70 of these. Now, what are these? These are called Celebration of Wine Cruises. And what is that? Well, in Europe, where we cruise, except for Holland and Belgium, everywhere else literally is wine country. And the rivers go through wonderful wine country. So we have these cruises that focus in on wine. And as the quote here, drinking good wine with good food and good company is one of life's most civilized pleasures. I couldn't agree more. And so we have guest winemakers come aboard, and they then give you a full-on education as it relates to the wines from the area. And guess what? These winemakers come from North America and they bring their wine clubs along, but they also then give you the education of learning the New World wines like we have here in Northern California versus, say, Old World wines in Europe, and very, very different. So 3 tastings plus a paired dinner. So these are very, very popular. The tastings on board, the wine-themed excursions, and then the wine host who is very well versed in the specific area in which you're cruising and the wine of that area. So very, very popular. If you have an interest, just let your counselor, your advisor at Dimensions know that you would like to know more about a wine cruise. These are our highest rated cruises when it comes to the guest satisfaction levels, where people fill out the surveys at the end. People just absolutely love these wine-themed cruises. Now, if you don't drink or that's not something, don't worry about it. There's plenty of other things to do. The entertainment on board, because of the size of the ships being smaller, is of course more quaint, more colloquial, local entertainment that's geared to the destination in which you're cruising. But there is always dancing every night. There's a ship's musician on board as well. We also have pools. The pools also have a little swim up bar here, and the pools are heated in the shoulder season, and they're also heated during the Christmas markets time. So you can, bottom line, always bring your swim trunks because the pools are always heated to a nice temperature. And so that's something that we have. I cruised a couple summers ago in August of 2018, went along the Danube River. It was in the mid 90s during the day. And let me tell you, it was so nice to have this pool to dip into whenever I felt like it. And then we do have certified wellness instructors on board. And this gentleman is one. Now, he's not a wellness instructor during the day, and then all of a sudden you see him waiting tables in the dining room in the evening, not a service provider. He is, or she is, strictly there for wellness activities. It could be yoga, it could be Tai Chi, it could be cardio, it could be stretch, any number of different activities that we do, and this is all available to you. They do one-on-one lessons as well. So this is something that is very popular and is very partial. Christine Karst brought this, one of our co-owners you saw pictured earlier. This is kind of her baby, and this has gone over really, really well, as has the fact that we have bikes on board. So we have 25 bicycles on board, and people go out on guided tours or they take them out on their own. And there's always a guide at the front and at the rear, so you don't have to be worried about being too fast or too slow. No problem whatsoever. There's hiking as well. There's, of course, the wine-themed excursions, and these are all included, which is nice. And the other thing we do is we break them then into pace levels or activity levels: gentle, regular, and active. So what that does is it breaks the ship's complement of 150 guests or less, whatever, and into smaller groups, right? And that, again, we think is going to be very popular with future cruisers with these much, much smaller groups. Plus, we offer late risers. So if you don't want to get up early, you can go out later in the day. And the cool thing is you might go out on an excursion in the morning, do that, come back, have lunch on the ship, or maybe you have lunch in town. Then you have an afternoon excursion, or maybe you go out on your own. Anyway, pretty much up to you as to what you want to do, but these are very, very popular indeed, particularly the fact that they're included. We also have Wi-Fi, so bring your handheld device. We have our own, you can see, app here, the My AmaCruise app. We actually spend more on broadband than we do on fuel, which is hard to believe, but we keep hearing that. So we want folks to be able to communicate with their friends and family back home and keep up with things if they want to. So that is something that's available. Now, this is a ship that is unique to AmaWaterways. You might see, gosh, that looks different than the other ones. And you're absolutely right. This ship, the Ama Magna, and the word magna in Latin means great, is a double wide ship. It's twice the width, right? And so the fact is that there are a set of locks on the Danube River that are 72 feet wide. So this ship, the Ama Magna, was built just for the Danube and to be able to operate through those 72-foot wide locks, and that she does. So just to give you an idea, we took off the name of our competitor here. This ship carries 196 guests. This ship carries only 192, right? So that gives you an idea of the space ratio and the size of the cabins. So we have 6 of these grand suites. There's an owner's suite that's over 700 square feet. This grand suite, of which there are 6, they're 474 square feet. And then this is the average category, which is 355 square feet with a full balcony, right? So this is unique to this ship, to the Ama Magna. So really a special ship. She's kind of become the queen of the fleet. She debuted in May of 2019, of last year. So she's quite something. And then there are 4 different restaurants on the Ama Magna, several different bars as well. The main restaurant, the Alfresco, the Chef's Table, and Jimmy's. And by the way, the Chef's Table is an alternative dining opportunity for you where it's a tasting menu paired with wine, really kind of nice. And then of course an open air sun deck with a pop-up bar. By the way, this ship also has an elevator that goes all the way up here to sun deck. That is also unusual for a river ship in Europe, to have an elevator that goes all the way from the bottom all the way up to the sun deck. So if you may have ambulatory issues, this ship would be one to consider. And then we welcome our solo travelers. We're very much solo traveler friendly. I'm going to show you a special here momentarily, but we, again, very much welcome solo travelers and take very, very good care of them with the crew on board, also with dining as well, so you're not dining alone, that kind of thing. So as I say, we're known to be very much friendly to our solo travelers. Now, another result of COVID is that we're now doing exclusive airport transfers in the future, where it might be that you would get on a motor coach and transfer to the ship in a larger motor coach. Now it's going to be smaller exclusive airport transfers, again, for obvious reasons. We had actually been beta testing this for a year or two, and now we know for sure we're going to be doing it as it relates to being able to say this is how the airport transfers are going to work in a much smaller situation for you and your traveling companions, your family, whoever it might be. Some new itineraries: Rhine castles and Swiss Alps. This is a traditional Rhine cruise here from Basel, Switzerland up to Amsterdam, or the reverse, going through the Alsace region here, quite beautiful. But this offers a 3-night pre or post-cruise stay in Lake Como at the beautiful Hilton Hotel right on Lake Como. So that's a very unique and different new itinerary. We are always in Holland for best of tulip time, but now we're going to stay in Holland and Belgium for a longer itinerary here, or say longer into the new year, past spring into early summer and later on. So you can do Holland and Belgium outside of tulip time. That's the most popular, but you can do it now at different times. This is Impressions of the Seine and Paris, and this is a one-way cruise between Paris and Le Havre and back. But this offers 3-night pre or post in Saint-Malo in Brittany, which is absolutely incredible, and you get to visit Mont Saint-Michel. So also new itinerary. And then this is new for 21. This is Essence of Burgundy and Provence. We have always done the Rhone here in Provence. Now we're adding the Saône, right? So you cruise from Chalon-sur-Saône down to Arles, or the reverse. Opportunities in Geneva and Barcelona. So those are some new itineraries, as is Secrets of Egypt and the Nile, which begins next September through December of 21, and then we start up again. It's actually January through June. Then we skip July and August, and we pick up again in September. And so this is a 7-night cruise aboard the Amadahlia. You get 3 nights in Cairo at the Four Seasons Residence Hotel, and then an additional night at the end. And then we offer pre and post stays in Israel, Jordan, and also Dubai, which you don't see on the map. So I'm going to kind of go through these images kind of quickly in the interest of time, just to give your a sense of to whet your appetite, if you will, in terms of some of the beautiful places that you will cruise on the rivers in Europe and elsewhere. Cologne, which again is where the Ama Christina is operating to and from right now, in the incredible Cologne Cathedral. The Moselle I mentioned earlier, a river that not a lot of you know about, certainly, but the Moselle is actually, when I ask cruise managers, what do you think is the most beautiful river area, or river for that matter, in Europe? Invariably, they say this river, the Moselle. It's also the oldest wine growing region. The Romans brought the wine, the oldest wine growing region in Europe. So we have a number of cruises that incorporate both the Rhine and the Moselle. Kokum here, I mean, you see the river ships parked here. Again, quite beautiful. Würzburg, this being in the fall, and you'd be able to visit this castle. So you get a sense of just how beautiful it is. This is the Bacau Valley. Now, Rick Steves, Mr. Europe, he says the quintessential river cruise experience in all of Europe is cruising through here, the Bacau Valley, between Melk and Dürnstein, or Dürnstein and Melk, east and westbound. It's about 22 miles, and it is a UNESCO World Heritage Area. Quite lovely, quite beautiful. You visit wineries, these little villages and towns. You can bike along the river. You can do hikes. You can do special excursions as well. You can go down to Salzburg, Austria, or head up to the Czech Republic, to Český Krumlov. Of course, Budapest, everyone loves. And this is, it almost looks photoshopped, but that is the Parliament building in Budapest. Many of our cruises begin or end in Budapest with pre and post hotel opportunities. You can also continue on the Danube and maybe do the lower Danube, which is Eastern Europe, essentially, from Budapest to Bucharest, Romania. And you go through here, the Iron Gates, King Decebalus here, the sort of Mount Rushmore looking statue, if you will, into Bucharest, Romania. through Brasov, which is Dracula country in Transylvania. And of course, I mentioned earlier being up in the waterways. Now, we say the waterways of Holland and of Belgium because they are not controlled by dams, I should say by locks. They are controlled by dikes and by dams. And so the water levels don't vary, quite frankly, that much. So we say waterways versus rivers in Holland and in Belgium. Of course, tulip time is a very popular time to be there. Here in beautiful Antwerp, which, by the way, I tasted some of the best Belgian beer I've ever had here in Antwerp at this little bar right there. Wonderful. Now I love Belgian beer. Giverny, if you are a fan of impressionistic art, of course, Monet, this was his place, and you actually have excursions that take you there to be able to see what inspired Monet and his paintings. If you're a World War II history buff, or just in general a history buff, visiting the Normandy beaches on the Seine River cruises is on a lot of people's bucket list to go to Normandy. And then into Burgundy and the quintessential areas of wine production in France, sort of Mecca, if you will, along with Bordeaux, visiting these very wonderful vineyards, many of them family owned, that you get to visit. Lyon, the gastronomic capital of France, which it truly is, quite lovely, and you get to try wonderful food. There's also wonderful silk, ladies, if you like silk scarves. I hit a home run with my wife, bringing home a couple of silk scarves from Lyon. Now you see what inspired Van Gogh when he was living in Provence in Arles. And of course, he painted sunflowers and other things, but you see how beautiful Provence is. It really is. The Pont du Gard, I wish I could show, if people were standing here, this Roman ruin and how incredibly impressive it is. You get to visit there. And then Bordeaux, over on the southwestern part of France. We do cruises on the Dordogne, the Garonne, and the estuary that's nearby. And of course, very much heavy into culinary with the food and the wine. That's a picture of the Amadahlia parked in Rouen, actually, quite beautiful there. And then an area that's also very much in vogue these days, which is Portugal and Spain. That's a picture of Porto, where we have cruises that are round trip Porto or one-way Porto going east or westbound. And so we have two ships that do Portugal and Spain. You see how narrow the Douro River is. And again, this is a UNESCO World Heritage Area. You see the vineyards and the villages, and again, very popular. And these ships, the Amaduro and the Amavita, only carry 102 guests, 51 cabins, so they fill more quickly. For a very exotic opportunity, you can go to Southern Africa and do a cruise on the Zambezi Queen. Only 28 guests, 14 cabins on the Chobe River between Namibia and Botswana. The Chobe flows into the Zambezi River, right? And so you do have an opportunity to do game drives by boat and as well by land. The largest single gathering of elephants is on the Chobe in Namibia. So if you like elephants, my favorite animal on planet Earth, you're in for a treat because there's tons of them here, along with lots of other wildlife. About 3 years ago, we had Jack Hanna of Jack Hanna's Wildlife Adventures. He and his family came, and he talks about how wonderful of an experience this was of doing really a safari by boat. And you do obviously get to visit here to Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe. There's 6 different land programs that you can combine with the river cruise. Now, if you want to head down to Southeast Asia, to the Mekong, we have the beautiful Amadahlia, carries around 124 guests, and she operates on the Mekong. That incorporates stay here in Ho Chi Minh City or Saigon, also time here at Siem Reap for Angkor Wat, of course the ruins, also time up here in Hanoi, as well as time in Halong Bay, but always incorporative of a 7-night cruise along the Mekong. Again, very popular, very exotic, very unique. This is that time you get to spend on a beautiful ship on, as it says, ethereal Halong Bay, and then time 3 days or sometimes 3 nights, depending if you're going north or south, here in Angkor Wat, along with Machu Picchu and the Sphinx and the pyramids, recognized in terms of a bucket list archaeological place to visit in the top 3 always. So let's talk now, as we come up on an hour here, let's talk about some of the different specials we have available for you. I can tell you, doing these webinars for 5 months, 5 months ago, we just showed nice pictures. But now I will tell you folks that we are now offering opportunities to book. And here's the simple reason why. People have come to the conclusion that they want to get something on the calendar for the future, even if it means booking in 2022, which the books are open, as I say. But we are seeing a lot of bookings come through, particularly for next summer and beyond. So Dimensions in Travel is a member of the Ensemble Travel Group. This is a consortium of it's exclusive benefits, but also an exclusive group of accounts. So bottom line is that they have a different, an onboard credit of $300 and also hosted programs. And these are on a variety of different departures. So they can tell you more, but all things being equal, it's nice to gravitate, if you can, to one of these departures that are part of the Ensemble Travel Group block of dates, if you will. And as I say, Dimensions is a member. Now, here is something very compelling. And again, this is something we only started about 2 months ago. And that is for virtual events, which is what we're doing today. We're offering 2-for-1 deals. That is rare. I'm going to take a sip of wine here. As you look here and see, there are 5 departures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 departures we are offering at 2-for-1. We don't do this, but we decided to do it because we're doing a number of these virtual events. So this is like a webinar attendee only special. So the Best of Holland and Belgium next July, Captivating Rhine again in July, Romantic Danube. So these are Rhine, this is Danube, July 18th. That new itinerary that I mentioned between Chalon-sur-Saône and Arles, the essence of Burgundy and Provence, also a July departure, and then another Danube departure later in August. These are all 2-for-1. You have to book by November 30th, so you have the next month or so. And this is mainly for the travel advisors, for Jill and Diana and the advisors who are on. This is the promo code. You have to book this with Dimensions, 2-for-1-VCN. So these are tremendous opportunities at a 2-for-1 opportunity, right? So I want to make mention of that. This is an entirely separate offer, which is a free air program, right? So this is booking by December 31. The 2-for-1s do not combine with free air. That's a little too rich. But if these 2-for-1 dates, if for whatever reason they don't work for you, there might be other dates that have the free economy air or companion air, or there's an upgrade to business class for $29.99, right? So that's also available and in the marketplace. So for our solo travelers who like to go solo, we have a new 25% single supplement on those balcony staterooms. Normally, the solo supplement of 25% is only available on the lowest categories, the D's and E's or C's and D's. But now, again, through the end of December, promo code SOLO-25, and it's a select departures in 2021, our solo travelers can then cruise in a balcony accommodation for only 25% surcharge. These are double occupancy accommodations, but you only pay the 25% surcharge. Any former military or current military, you also save an additional $100 per person, and that's on all savings. You just give your credentials to the advisors at Dimensions in Travel. So these are the booking specials. The early booking reward for next year is the fly free. We have the early booking reward for 2022, and what that is, it's a 5% savings on balconies and suites, again, by booking by the end of December. I mentioned the military savings. There's also, for those of you interested possibly in going to the Mekong on the Amadahlia, really incredible cruise, there are 2-for-1 land offers. So for the stay in Siem Reap at Angkor Wat, for the stay in Hanoi, for the stay in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City, we're offering 2-for-1 on the land starting next August through April of 2022. And then Dimensions in Travel, what they're offering, now if any booking you make, now this has to be made by November 13, that's an extra $100 savings. That's again, just for showing up today, right? And then we have this webinar attendee, the 2-for-1, that's good through the end of November. I know it's a lot to digest here. This information the folks at Dimensions have, but the bottom line is there's ample opportunity if you're so inclined to get something booked to do so. And frankly, I guess what I want to say, the psychologists out there these days are saying that when you actually make a deposit, and with us, to make a deposit, it's a $400 per person deposit to make a booking, $400 per person to make a booking. And once you put that on the calendar, the lift that you're going to get from seeing, I'm taking that trip next, September or whenever it is palpable, right? So there's plenty of opportunities to do so. So just a reminder, again, November 12th, I'll be back. And again, more about transitioning from ocean to river and more on the Danube and the Rhine. We'll dive deeper into the itineraries on those two rivers. And then December 2 with Christine Karst talking about the Christmas markets. So we do indeed very much look forward to welcoming you on board. You see some of our crew on the Ama Christina that again, look forward to the opportunity to see you come and cruise with us next year or in 2022. So with that, I am going to see, this would be the time, and Kathy has some questions. How far, thank you for the questions, and any of the rest of you that might have questions, go ahead and start to type those in now, and then I will do my best to answer those. How far do you go each day, and how fast is it going? It varies, the length, because a lot of the times we're cruising at night, Kathy, so we cruise at night, and it varies dependent upon what time we have to reach a certain lock. So sometimes we go faster, sometimes we go slower because of the river traffic that's out there. So I wish I had a better answer for you as to how far you go each day. I can tell you that, for example, in Bordeaux, the ports are pretty close by, so you don't go very far, right? And so you don't have to get up as early to go out on the tours. There are some nights you cruise quite a long distance. There are some daytime cruising as well, but if you have a specific itinerary, then we can send those to you. I can send what's called the nautical terms that show exact distances between ports, that kind of thing. And then Kathy, you have another question. Which itinerary has the least passengers? So the Zambezi Queen only has 28 guests, right? Now, right now, the Ama Christina that's operating in Europe we only can carry a maximum of 100 guests, and that's per European rules. Now, we're thinking that come next spring, when hopefully, knock wood, we get to cruise next spring, March, April, May, we may limit, even if the Europeans haven't limited, we may limit the number to, again, 100 guests on board, right? So the biggest ship is the Ama Magna that carries a maximum of 192 or 94 right in there. Our average size ship is 150, but once again, will we fill the ships to capacity? It's hard to say at this point because again, things are so fluid. How many square feet is a twin balcony stateroom? They go up to 235 square feet. The twin balcony accommodations, 235 is the largest. The suites are a little larger, of course. If you go on the Ama Magna, the average cabin is 355 square feet, again with the full balcony. So that Ama Magna is unique in that sense. So that's worth re-mentioning to you all. All right, any more questions? Okay, so we're right at a little after 5. Jill, would you like to add anything before we look to say adieu?
I would just like to add a huge thank you. I feel like I've been around the globe today, and having done a couple of river cruises myself over the last couple of years, it brought back some wonderful memories. So I think for those that were on the call that have never done a river cruise before, please consider it. It's just the best way to see Europe. And thank you so much to Brian. It was a tremendous presentation today. Thank you to everyone who shared questions with us. Please contact Dimensions in Travel and your favorite travel advisor about any of the special promotions or other questions that you have. They're all eager to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jill. Thanks everybody for coming, and let's all look forward to that time when we get to itch that travel bug and get back out there. And there's certainly a plethora of opportunities from specials that we're offering. So again, we look forward to seeing you on our ships, and we say a hearty thank you to Dimensions in Travel. You can't go to a better place to book your travel, as you all know. So we're very grateful to them as well. And I'll check one last time for any questions. No, we're good, we're good, we're good. All right, so I will say goodbye to everybody. I'll send you, Jill and Diana, the video link, and then you can all watch it again if you're so inclined, or share it with your friends, whatever you'd like to do. So bye for now, everybody. Thank you so much.